This movie made me a little self-conscious because it made me wonder, does my hair make me look the way Joe looks in this movie with his long hair? Because he kind of looks like a freshly circumcised dick wearing a wig.
I feel confident that you do not look like this, but we can leave it to the viewers to decide, I guess.
Those from CineCringe, let me know. Okay, well, before we continue any further, my name is George, and with me is Chris, and today we are looking at Samurai Cop from 1991. Probably the worst cinematography I've ever seen.
Maybe of somehow of all the movies we've watched, still the most clueless treatment of Asian elements or culture imaginable. I was shocked to see such a wide gulf between the talent on display here and the talent with Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a younger person, having seen both of these like decades ago, I remembered them as basically like the same kind of deal.
Yeah.
But the director of Hard Ticket to Hawaii is a consummate professional compared to the guy who made this movie.
The one thing that bugs me the most is that why does every shot in this movie have so much headroom? There is so much negative space above every shot, above the actors' heads. Even in like wide shots, for some reason, it felt like the camera operator was wearing weird shoes that slanted backwards.
Everyone's just in the middle of the frame.
Yeah, this director doesn't understand the rule of three.
It's the rule of half. Everyone looks tiny, and that calamitous framing perfectly dovetails with the director's total inability to handle reaction shots, so that you're always cutting to someone who's halfway down the frame doing an inappropriate reaction to the scene that's going on.
It feels like an AI-made movie.
It did. Well, Hard Ticket to Hawaii felt like someone, as I said, trying to create the Hollywood spectacle and experience on a budget. This one felt exactly as you say, like someone who was taking random pieces of the Hollywood spectacle without really understanding what they're supposed to be, and just doing an incompetent version of them.
I mean, I got bored quite often, but I briefly looked into the cast and noticed that there was a sequel by a different director.
Yeah.
But it starred a few actresses that I was co-worker and friends with.
Yes.
And I kind of really wish that we did that one instead, because I feel like that would be more fun because of those actresses.
So I haven't seen the original, or the sequel, rather. I haven't seen the sequel, but here's the story with it that I have heard, is that it is the sad kind of cash-in that it took this movie and set out to make an intentionally bad movie because this movie was known as being bad and therefore was not very entertaining.
Okay, Joe, keep it up.
Oh, it's up and ready. You just keep it warm.
It's warm and ready.
In bad movies, I feel like the directors have an inability to have multiple things happening at once.
Yes.
And this movie showcases that to an excess. Like, there's this, drug dealer doing an exchange at a parking lot. We see our two leads. They park, get out of the car. The camera then cuts back and forth between the two leads and the drug dealers. One person each shot.
That's
back and forth, like 9 times.
There are so many moments in this sequence that are just parts of a movie that would never be in a movie. There's a part in this sequence where a guy opens the door to the back of a van that the bad guys are in, and there are more bad guys in the back, and he's like, stay inside the van. And they're like, okay. And then he closes the doors. And that's the scene. And it's like, you're supposed to show the part where they get out of the van, right? That's the relevant part of the action scene.
Yeah, there are so many useless shots, but here's a really weird thing though. While there's a lot of excessive shots at scenes that don't need them, other scenes like this chase scene where they're driving down the road and they're shooting at the van and the van's shooting back, in an action sequence there are too few shots because you can clearly tell they're reusing a lot of same shots within few seconds of each other, within a few seconds of each cut.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, I felt kind of a special connection to this movie because in my graduating year of high school, myself and a couple friends worked on a feature film. It was a 70s detective movie that was written, produced, and directed by a friend of mine.
Okay.
It had no budget, and the all the value on screen was made up of favors and etc. And there was a remarkable amount of overlap in filmmaking technique between that movie we made at age 17 and this movie, in good and bad ways. The bad obviously being just a fundamental misunderstanding of how film sequences are put together. And so this movie, this opening sequence was so terrible, and I was so irritated by the first half of it. But then we got into the car chase, and they just tried to do so much stuff and have the van crash and it explodes and they're shooting guns and a guy does a burn stunt, which is dragged out the longest of any burning stunt I've ever seen in classic fashion of this movie. But still, I just saw this guy that at least was sort of into the action genre and wanted to do the things that the action genre did, and was deeply incompetent.
So my theory about all the women casted in this movie is that, unlike Hard Ticket to Hawaii, the director of this movie is using this film as an excuse to leer at them, kind of spend time with beautiful women. Because every shot and every scene of this movie have these weird, like, lingering shots on any woman in a scene, even if like she's in the background performer, she didn't say anything. Even if the action of the scene, the dialogue of the scene is done, the camera just stays on them and just kind of looks at them in a voyeuristic way.
I agree with you. The one other argument that I could make is it's a director directing for a male audience who he assumes will be pervs. There's always that question. Is this being done because the director is a perv or because the director thinks you're a perv?
I also have a feeling that the director don't really understand how cameras work, because there's a lot of really weird, like, random cutaways to reactions that are like color balanced incorrectly, completely just yellow, and he doesn't know, film grain versus lighting versus color temperature work.
I think that is definitely right. Again, the reaction shots are just madness in this movie. And another piece of trivia I read is that in the infamous speech that the samurai cop does, that was just shot with him in another office talking to a plant on a chair. And the reason I'm mentioning that now is that a lot of the reaction shots have that feeling of like everyone else has gone and the director's just there getting this last reaction shot. The whole thing's gone, the scene's not set up, they have nothing to act against. And the one thing that you can really just like see on the screen in this movie is the director directing right off camera. I just always, in the reaction shots, I could always hear him like, okay, now he's saying something funny. Okay, now she's saying something sexy. Okay, now he's running away off to the left. You can just see it always. Every time you can imagine this guy right behind the camera.
But you know what's also really weird is that it feels like he shot the reaction shots first and then matched a dialogue to it afterwards. Because, like, even no matter how low budget you are, even just off the top of my head, I could have shot the monologue first and then have it as a daily play back to the actor that's doing the reaction and just let him react to what's on screen.
Do you like what you see?
I love what I see.
Would you like to fuck me?
Even hungover at 7 a.m, and I was like, Caroline, what's the deal with that nurse scene? What were they trying to convey to me?
I think most people watching this video probably have seen this scene, on YouTube or somewhere else, right? Watching this scene alone, it feels really odd because there's no context and no reason. But even with 20 minutes of the movie before it and 70 minutes after it, the scene still has no actual purpose. Nor does it make any sense.
Up until this moment, the movie is mostly just an extremely shoddily made action picture, but at this moment, it just like drops off a cliff into sheer insanity, and you're never sure again what you're watching. Every
scene that he's successfully hitting on a woman, it's not because he's charming, not because of anything he did or says. It's just that every woman he meets just throw themselves at him for no reason.
So can you decipher the actual intent of this scene? Because the thing that really throws me for a loop about it is, if the idea is to show the samurai cop is like sexy and a ladies' man and etc., the way the scene plays out is that she literally feels his actual penis
Yeah.
and then declares it too small. And that's the end of the scene.
Yeah.
They joke about it and there's some banter, but that's what happens in the scene.
Which reminds me, if you're interested in listening to the full-length discussion of this episode, you can find it on our Patreon. The link is on screen and in the description down below. If you go over there, you will get the entire recording in an audio format like a podcast. Check it out, support us, help us keep doing this. We really appreciate it. Anyways. And like, I thought this was going to be the most awkward scene, but it actually continues when they walk away from the table. And the scene continues its awkwardness with the waiter. This, I guess, what the director thought a gay stereotype character was going to be like.
I wrote down what the hell is this character, and then I looked it up after and learned that he's supposed to be Cuban. Does that help you?
Alfonso Rafael Federico Sebastian. This is my first name.
No, I thought this was like a guy trying to do like the gay stereotype character in the early 90s, but just...
I
Again,
agree.
The director has no idea what that is
That
like.
is also what I thought.
We're at, what, like the second or third fight scene now with our samurai cop, who is supposedly trained by, as the movie quotes, masters of Japan, whatever that means. He really doesn't utilize his training at all in this movie until like the very end. Most of the time he either punches people or uses guns. And even in like a fist fight scene like this, there's no skill. He gets his ass kicked and he just looks like a regular street brawler.
This is also the sequence where Robert Z'Dar guns down his own men, and the one guy gets shot so much. He gets shot and like slumps back against a car, and then it's just shot more.
Yeah.
And then the other guy's just kind of doing the hokey pokey, leading to the immortal lines, "Son of a bitch, he killed his own men." I know, it's called Code of Silence. It's not entirely clear what this movie thinks the term samurai refers to.
I don't think I don't think the director knows. I don't think they even know what a katana is, because there's one dialogue where the cop goes, "What's a katana?" And he goes, "It's a Japanese, it means Japanese sword." I was like, no, it means sword in Japanese, you fucking idiot.
That's how all things should be translated. What does queso mean? It means Mexican cheese.
He owned this restaurant. He left my mother and I buried under $400,000 in debt.
We forgot to say that these are the worst cops in the history of cops.
Yeah.
The first long action sequence happens, they kill everyone. They get back to the police captain, and the police captain's like, "You killed everyone again. There's no one to arrest." But this is just like par for the course with these guys. They continually just kill everyone.
Yeah.
The police captain continually makes reference to the fact that his job is going to be taken away. And then near the end, in his final sequence, reveals that he is going to lose his job, and he's just given up on it, and he's going to lose his pension, and he's going to be just like die sad and destitute. And at the end, he just says, "See you in hell," because he knows his life is over after the events of Samurai Cop.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. And also, like, it wasn't played for laughs like with
No.
With Rush Hour, you know, that's how Chris Tucker's character is, right? He's a chaotic thing, but he's a comedic chaos, right? And it's not played off as like, oh, he's this gritty, loose cannon who can't be controlled like Mel Gibson is in Lethal Weapon. This is just what the movie perceives as he's a badass because he kills everybody he sees.
Actually, I'm just going to read the line to you.
Sure.
But you know something? I don't give a fuck. There's only one thing in this world I want. I want you to find that motherfucking Japanese gangster. I want you to kill him, and I want you to kill every one of his men. I want you to turn his house into a bloodbath. Don't leave anybody alive. And when they're all dead, you come back to me, and all three of us will turn our badges in and say goodbye to it. We'll be off this police force for good.
Jesus.
To which the samurai cop replies, "Now you're talking." So not only are they the worst cops ever, but they're not even, like, interested in being cops.
By the way, what's an all-American girl like you doing with a geek like this?
I guess around this point, which is like 2/3 into the movie, I lost track of the plot.
Me too.
And I thought it was just because my mind tapped out and I stopped caring.
Is it because you were watching her put this frying pan in the fridge?
Yeah, that too, right from the stovetop. Yeah, and you know what? It is a bad movie, and it really lost me for a second. But I went back and I rewatched a few scenes again, trying to like make myself pay attention again, and I realized it's not because I tapped out. It's because the movie itself has lost the plot. There's almost no cohesive plot in the first place. There's some car chases that happen with a guy burning, and some Japanese gang show up. Two cops confront the gang. Lead character stalks the gang boss's girlfriend, and then bad guys show up.
I'm gonna be honest, I was just going to pretend that I knew what the plot was while we had this discussion, because it seems insane that I would watch this movie yesterday and not know what the plot is, but I don't know what the plot is, so I'm glad we're on the same page.
I don't know. I don't know what to talk about, because it's just all across the board bad, and it's so bad in a way that there's like every aspect of every scene of every shot is incompetent. It's poorly made. It's wrongly made. From color grading to framing to acting to directions to editing, everything about this movie is made incorrectly.
I'm just sitting here in silence because I'm trying to think of a single thing that is not done incorrectly in this movie.
I'm pretty sure even their scheduling was done incorrectly, because I can kind of tell that things were shot out of order, so their schedule was wrong.
The one thing they did right is the joke where the samurai cop goes over the gate and his partner goes under the gate, and samurai cop's like, "Why did you come under?" And his partner's like, "I'm an undercover cop."
But he's not, though. So here's what I would do with this movie. You give the script to Axel Braun or Jules Jordan or Joanna Angel and just turn it into a low-budget porn instead. Because the acting and the framing would have been better.
You're right, they were so close. And you're also right that porn movies, what I've seen of 80s porn movies, which is admittedly not much, I've probably seen the best ones, I guess, but consistently higher technical standard than this movie. I guess you're right. You wouldn't even really need to change the title or the poster or the cast.
Yeah.
You might be onto something.
He's already trying to sleep with every woman, and every woman's already like throwing themselves at him in a porn logic kind of way.
I mean, I'm gonna remember this movie. Even if I don't watch this movie again for the rest of my life, I'm gonna remember things from it.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so that wraps it up for this week with Samurai Cop from 1991. Next week, both of us are going to a wedding of our friends, but we have another video prepared, so stay tuned for that one. It is a video essay by Chris. But so stay tuned next week for that. When we come back for the week after, we are going to be looking at the first Twilight.
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay, cool. Like and subscribe, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you in hell.